want to share a few items that may help clients refocus and start thinking about perhaps a new future. Start planning. And this is a maze, a box maze that is actually very simple for the client to do, and they can look at this and you'll notice if this is on a table in your office, the client may pick this up and they may look at it, they may try to do it a little bit, and then think, well, you can help them with their observation. So what do you see in here? What do you think the purpose of this is? It can really create a nice dialogue between you and the client, especially if they pick it up on their own and they're really interested. They're interested in mazes or solving problems or puzzles, and it may bring up other topics of conversation about things that they have to solve in their lives, other puzzles that they may be thinking about in the metaphorical sense of issues that are unresolved. Now, what is here actually is a trap door. And there's the trap door right here. The goal is to get the steel ball right into this entryway here. So from wherever the steel ball is, into this entryway. And then as you move that over here, it trips this trigger, and then the trap door opens up, and in this case, there is a reward in here that can be redeemed at a store. So, I mean, you could put many different types of items in here, depending upon what your purpose is for doing this. So, a good conversation starter and a good way to talk about the future and planning for the future and what your goals might be or what the client's goals might be for their future and how to open doors that may seem closed to them. Here we have another perspective changer. In fact, I collect kaleidoscopes, and the kaleidoscope, especially if clients pick this up on their own and they look at the kaleidoscope, it offers a different perspective on reality at that point. And then they can talk about what they see. They can talk about how it changes reality. And when after they're done looking at that, then they might you might be able to reframe their perspective so that they can talk about other issues that are affecting them. And if you're working with a younger population, the kaleidoscope, many times, it's amazing to see how many teenagers and young adults have never, ever seen a kaleidoscope. And so that look on their face when they see something that they see is truly amazing. Here are small kaleidoscopes that are readily available that are excellent for group work, so that you can have individuals in a group share about their reality and how this can change the way they see things and other events in their lives that have shaped their lives, and give them a sense of how they can reshape their reality and reframe how they see things. And in fact, it ties in with trauma in that they can see themselves again, not as a victim, but as a survivor of trauma, as they reframe the events of the trauma and see how there are potential actual things that they have learned from that traumatic event. here we have some Play-Doh that I have used with public speaking in groups, and as well as with kindergartners. So for all age groups, it fits well with all age groups. And then the Play-Doh can be used with anger especially. It's especially effective in dealing with the anger that can come from a traumatic event. You can have the client pick up the Play-Doh and do whatever they want with it as a non-directed activity, or you can have them create a shape, something that may cause anger in their lives. They may create a face, or they may create, even a dog may have caused them trauma at some point. Or there might be a trigger that causes them trauma, that they can gain a sense of control over that trigger by creating a likeness of that trigger and then confronting it in a safe way. Wood. Wood is wonderful. This is it's a kind of a brain game that is it's one of the easier, it's one of the easier games that your clients can take apart and put back together again. So look at how easy that is. They can see, they can look at the wood, look at the shape, and then see how the pieces fit together. So often it seems as though our clients' lives are fragmented and some pieces of the puzzle just don't seem to make sense, but yet can fit together and make sense if you maybe look at the pieces in a little bit different way and see how they fit together. Another activity you can do is have somebody actually draw what is causing them pain. And they draw what's causing them pain, and then they turn that into a puzzle. And then they can cut that apart and then put it back together again and gain a sense of control as they see how the puzzle of the pieces of their trauma fit together. Okay, we have another wooden item here, which really looks a lot easier. This looks a lot easier than it is. I believe this is a Gandhi, something from Gandhi. So it can add a multicultural dimension to your office. Creating that acceptance of other cultures and a sense of safety for all cultures. It's not a game that you might expect to see in an office, but it helps people look at problems from a different point of view. And there is something very soothing about seeing those steel balls go around in a circle. And of course, the goal is to get all three of these steel balls in the circle. And I've had this, I think, for 7 years. And there's probably been a handful of clients that have managed to do that. But the point is to notice how the client is breathing and see if this is actually causing them to relax while they're doing this. And it can bring up relaxation and problem solving and looking at problems from a new point of view. Kind of fun. We have water. And something that draws attention, refocuses, reframes. Pick this up, and you might have, the client may get a smile on their face just by looking at this. And it may bring back memories from childhood. Or they saw something like this that they really liked, or they had something like this when they were growing up. And you can talk about that. Or just a reframing, a new perspective. And something, I like collecting things that many people have not seen before. So there's frogs on here, blue, very colorful. Another very colorful object right here. You see orange here, but lo and behold, when you move it, all of a sudden we have purples and blues, colors that you would not think you'd see. And very flowing, relaxing, even though it's very colorful and plastic, but different perspective. A good way of starting conversation about what people really like. What do your clients really like to do? What do they really do? What do they like to watch on TV? What are their hobbies? Things of that nature. This could be a great way of really connecting with the clients. A unique puzzle, a Russian puzzle. And what to expect. What to expect when you're done. The client does not know what to expect necessarily, and lo and behold, what is in here? It is a rock, a gift, and so if it seems appropriate to you, at this point, you could talk about the rock and how the rock is so different from the wood. And if it seems appropriate to do, you can have the person do some relaxation at that point and look at different aspects of the rock, and then talk about relaxation if that seems appropriate. Many times it is sort of letting the client lead and using what the client says as a springboard for digging deeper into traumatic memories. And then put it back together, develop a sense of closure. Many times clients do not have that sense of closure because they've been through so many different traumatic events in their lives. And it seems like they are in some ways they're helpless and hopeless. And when they complete, even as small as it is, completing something such as this gives them a sense of efficacy. Another wood game. It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube of sorts that's round. And you don't see this very often. And the client can take some time and sort of lose their train of thought of what may have been bothering them. And then what I like about this is the wood grain that they can see, and it's very natural. Here is what looks like a circle, a flat circle. It has little balls on it and maybe some wire, different colored wire, but it can change. It can change shapes. And the client discovers what kind of shapes they can make. And it just seems to hold the client's attention. And with the other one, there's a couple, you can make it different shapes, and there's the small size, the smaller version. Like that. And you can put the smaller one inside of the larger one and make another shape so that the smaller one disappears. Oh, and it reappears. This is one of my, I hardly ever talk about this particular saying. I just have it in my office as a sense of efficacy, developing that not giving up. Again, like I said many times, trauma survivors have been through so much that it seems so much easier just to give up and just to develop a cycle, just to fall prey, I should say, to that cycle, that downward cycle of despair and hopelessness. This rock inspired me while I was finishing my doctorate. I kept this EDD rock, and I kept saying, next year, and finally, my defense did come. There are various different rocks, and the rocks, some rocks have sayings on them, choice or listen. You could develop a rock garden with different rocks with different sayings that might create discussion or break some impasse that the client may be going through. They're also very good for groups, so that each person can take a rock and talk about that in a group setting. This is a very unique rock that I found the other day. It just impressed me by how flat it was. And the colors, its colors, very soothing and calming. With this kind of rock garden that I have here, if a student or client is going through a time of stress, we can talk about that stress and we can break that stress apart. For example, I might have a student talk about 5 things that are particularly traumatic for them. And I have a pad of paper right in my office, and they can number their paper from 1 to 5, and then they would list 5 things that are causing stress for them at this point. And many times what you'll find out is that your client will have layers of stress, so that the thing that is stressing them out the most might be on the top layer. So they might have a girlfriend or boyfriend issue. They might have money, a financial issue. There are many things, and then you'd have them write that down. A friend, money. It might be some sort of abuse that's going on. It might be a memory. It could be arguing, something like that. Then they would write down how much that bothers them. For example, you could have them have a scale from 1 to 99, where 1 is a nightmare situation and 99 is a dream. It's something that's incredible. And then you can have them number each one of these. And once they have done that, there are many different activities that you could use to process this stress. And as a closure to that, you can look at the rock. and how these rocks, or a rock that they can pick a rock at that point when you're done with your processing. And then feel a more intense sense of calmness after that. This should have de-escalated their stress, because they now are able to see those layers and how the layers of that onion affect each other and work through that. And they might even see that what they thought was really bothering them was not what was really bothering him, that it was everything combined, that all these 5 issues combined were overwhelming. But when you take them apart and look at them separately, then it becomes much more manageable. So once they might develop a new perspective on friends or money or abuse, or the memory that they thought was bothering him wasn't exactly correct. And they might develop, you might be able to discuss methods of helping them deal with the arguing, coping with the arguing, depending upon all the circumstances around that. And then, when that is finished, they can look at this rock and look at how loose, when these ideas come to their mind, they can reframe them in terms of the rock, letting them flow in their consciousness and flow out, so that the client is focusing on the rock and the aspects of the rock, normalizing their breathing. The client learns about diaphragmatic breathing and how that's so powerful. It may take more than one time to do this, and more than one list. You can do this list about many different things. And then helping them gain a sense of control over that, or at least a sense that these are not going to overwhelm them, because they can relax and they can be grounded.